They left us to die on a burning planet and called us too violent, too broken, too human. But in the silence between stars, we built something they never expected, an empire forged in shadows. Today, the most powerful fleet in the galaxy will vanish not by alien hands, but by the very species they tried to erase. If you think humanity is done, think again. The Ghost Fleet is real, and we've just begun. The stars were never kind to humanity. When the United Galactic Federation discovered Earth, they deemed humanity unfit for integration, too aggressive, too unpredictable, and too emotional. They placed sanctions forbidding trade colonization or technological aid. The verdict was clear. Humanity was to remain stranded on its dying homeworld, a species doomed to rot in the shadow of greater civilizations. But the Federation underestimated one thing: humanity's refusal to die quietly. Earth was suffocating. Resources dwindled, wars over scraps intensified, and the Federation stood back, watching like indifferent gods. They had the power to help, but they had already decided not worth saving. But in the darkest corners of the world, in underground bunkers and hidden laboratories, a different future was being written. Brilliant minds, scientists, engineers, hackers, and warlords came together, driven by one purpose: survival. They scavenged technology from black market dealers, reverse-engineered alien systems, and pushed their own sciences beyond limits. The Federation believed them contained, but they were building something. A fleet. A ghost in the machine. A whisper in the void. They called it the Ghost Fleet, born from desperation, fueled by defiance, and ready to haunt the galaxy that had cast them aside. When the time came, they would emerge not as supplicants, but as conquerors. Their first target, a Federation supply hub crucial to their military operations, a silent giant of logistics that would crumble without a fight. Part I ended with Vorn's declaration: "We're not just here to survive anymore, we're here to conquer." He tapped the holographic map, marking the first target. The Ghost Empire had risen. The first target was the Federation's primary deep space logistics hub, designated Nexus 7. It was a colossal self-sustaining orbital station bristling with automated defenses, but manned by a skeleton crew deemed too vital and too secure to warrant heavy guard. Its true weakness was its reliance on complex, interconnected systems, a web of automated protocols and logistical algorithms. This was the Ghost Empire's specialty, honed by centuries of clandestine development and desperate ingenuity. Admiral Vorn, now a living legend within the Ghost Empire, his face etched with the lines of countless sleepless nights and impossible decisions, stood on the bridge of the Wraith, his flagship. The Wraith was more than a ship. It was a testament to human defiance, its hull shimmering with cloaking technology so advanced it seemed to absorb light itself, bending space-time around its presence. Around him, his officers moved with the silent, efficient precision of a well-oiled machine, each a prodigy in their own right, hand-picked for their brilliance and unwavering loyalty to the cause. Kael, the enigmatic strategist, observed the holographic projection of Nexus 7, his expression unreadable, his mind already calculating a dozen contingencies. Ori, the brilliant young technopath, her dark hair pulled back from a face often pale from intense mental strain, had her eyes closed, her brow furrowed in intense concentration. Her mind, a living conduit, was dancing through the countless data streams radiating from the Federation hub, seeking the weakest points in its digital armor. Ori's status on the infiltration. Vorn's voice was a low growl, barely a whisper that carried across the bridge, cutting through the tense silence. "Almost through the primary firewall, Admiral," Ori responded, her voice tight with effort, a vein throbbing faintly in her temple. "Their network is more robust than anticipated. Old Federation protocols designed for redundancy, not stealth. Layers upon layers of encrypted subroutines, but I'm finding the seams." "Redundancy is a weakness against a mind like yours, Ori," Kael interjected, a rare hint of a genuine smile touching his usually stoic lips. "It just gives you more routes to exploit, more vulnerabilities to leverage. They built a fortress with too many gates." The Ghost Fleet was not built for brute force, at least not yet. Their strength lay in their unique blend of advanced human ingenuity and meticulously reverse-engineered alien tech pushed beyond its original design parameters. They exploited the Federation's rigid adherence to established protocols, their predictable tactical doctrines, and their deeply ingrained arrogance. For centuries, the Federation had believed humanity to be a lesser species, incapable of innovation, beyond crude aggression, too emotional to truly master advanced logic. This profound underestimation was their greatest vulnerability. a blind spot woven into the very fabric of their galactic dominance. They had bottled up a dying species only to create a virulent, untraceable strain of defiance, a weapon honed in the crucible of neglect. Hours stretched into what felt like an eternity. The tension on the Wraith's bridge was palpable, a silent, almost painful hum that vibrated through the deck plates. Finally, after what felt like an age, Ori's eyes snapped open, a triumphant, almost exhausted spark in their depths. Done. Nexus 7 is blind, Admiral. All external sensor arrays are feeding pre-recorded loops, old traffic patterns, routine patrols. Internal security systems are reporting green across the board, but they're seeing ghosts, phantom echoes of their own automated responses. Automated defenses are inert, awaiting orders that will never come from their command center or from any real threat. A ripple of relief, quickly suppressed, moved through the command crew, each officer allowing themselves a fleeting moment of exhaled breath. Vorn nodded slowly, a grim satisfaction in his gaze. Perfect. Ghost 1, Ghost 2, proceed with boarding protocols. Disable the central control nexus, but leave the primary logistics data intact. We need their supply chains, their strategic intelligence, not their rubble. Their resources are our resources now. Two smaller vessels, the Shadow and the Phantom, detached from the Wraith's underbelly. These were purpose-built infiltration ships, sleek and silent, designed to slip through even the tightest defenses. Their crews were specialized operatives, humans trained not just in stealth and close-quarters combat, but in the delicate art of bypassing alien security systems with a finesse born of desperation and ingenuity. They were the silent vanguard of the Ghost Empire, the hands that pulled the strings behind the scenes, leaving behind only questions and an unsettling void. The operation at Nexus 7 was a textbook example of Ghost Empire efficiency and ruthless precision. There were no grand explosions, no epic space battles lighting up the void. The Federation only realized Nexus 7 was compromised hours later when their automated supply requests went unanswered, and their distant monitoring stations reported inexplicable continuous all-clear signals, masking an internal vacuum, a complete lack of activity. By the time a scouting party was dispatched, weeks later navigating through the now desolate station, they found the station's central control nexus, locked down its systems, purged of any Federation presence, and a single chilling message etched onto the main view screen in glowing binary, a message that spoke directly to their deepest fears the Ghost Fleet remembers. The vast warehouses of supplies, munitions, and fuel enough to sustain entire fleet operations for months were gone spirited away into the void as if by magic. The loss of Nexus 7 sent shockwaves through the Federation, reverberating through every level of their monolithic bureaucracy. It wasn't just a logistical setback, it was a profound psychological blow. The invincible Federation, the undisputed power of the galaxy, had been outmaneuvered, outsmarted by a species they had written off as primitive and irrelevant. This wasn't a conventional attack. It was an act of surgical precision, a phantom limb lopping off a vital artery, leaving a bleeding, inexplicable wound. "They're faster than we thought," muttered Commander Valerius, a grizzled Federation officer, his face etched with disbelief as he reviewed the incident report for the 10th time. "And smarter. Much smarter. This wasn't some desperate raid by dying primitives. This was planned, executed with malicious, chilling genius." He slammed his fist on the data table. "How could we have been so blind?" Admiral Tyro, head of Federation Internal Security, a reptilian Cathar known for his unwavering ruthlessness, slammed his multi-jointed fist on his desk, sending tremors through the comms room. "Sanctions containment. We cut them off from everything. How could they possibly have developed this technology, this stealth, this level of cyber warfare? Their homeworld was a swamp of internal conflict. His frustration was palpable, his belief system shattered. The Federation, in its arrogant, self-serving wisdom, had dismissed human ingenuity as mere aggression, human resilience as mere stubbornness. They had failed to understand that humanity's greatest strength lay not in brute force but in its adaptability, its relentless drive to survive against impossible odds, and its boundless capacity for innovation when pushed to the brink of extinction. They had bottled up a dying species only to create a virulent, untraceable strain of defiance, a weapon honed in the crucible of neglect and forgotten promises. Back on the Wraith, deep within the newly acquired supply caches of Nexus 7, Vorn reviewed the spoils of their victory. The data from Nexus 7's logistics mainframe was invaluable, a treasure trove of Federation vulnerabilities. It contained detailed schematics of every Federation supply route, every critical resupply point, every major troop deployment, and most importantly, the exact locations and security vulnerabilities of colonial planets ripe for liberation. Their empire is a house of cards, Vorn observed, tracing a line on the holographic map, a predatory gleam in his eyes. They control through bureaucracy and fear not loyalty. Cut the right threads and the whole tapestry unravels. We won't defeat them with fleets alone. We'll unravel them from within. Ari, analyzing the newly acquired data with a voracious appetite, chimed in, her fingers dancing over the holographic interface. And the threads are surprisingly brittle, Admiral. Multiple colonial worlds are showing high levels of unrest far beyond what Federation reports acknowledge. Resources being siphoned off by distant overseers, excessive taxation leading to widespread poverty, forced labor camps working sentient beings to death. They're ripe for an uprising. The seeds of rebellion are already planted. KL leaned forward, his gaze fixed on the expanding holographic projections. We don't just hit their military. We hit their economy. We hit their control. We show their subjugated worlds that the Federation is not invincible, that there is another option. We don't just take their supplies, we give hope. The Ghost Empire shifted its strategy from mere survival and opportunistic raids to a calculated, audacious campaign of galactic liberation. No longer would they simply raid. They would sow discontent. They would spark revolution. Their next targets were not military strongholds, but the economic arteries of the Federation, resource-rich planets, key manufacturing hubs, and trade routes that served as lifelines for the Federation's bloated bureaucracy. The Liberation Campaign began a systematic unraveling of the Federation's hold on the galaxy. The Ghost Fleet would strike silently, appearing out of nowhere like true specters, disabling Federation garrisons and orbital defenses with surgical precision. But instead of destroying infrastructure, they would free the enslaved populations, hand over control of resources, and provide them with the means to defend themselves. Advanced weapon schematics, reverse-engineered from Federation tech, simplified energy shield generators, and decentralized communication networks that bypassed Federation surveillance. They wouldn't conquer these worlds, they would empower them, turning former slaves into staunch allies. One of the most notable early successes was the liberation of Xylos Prime, a moon rich in exotic minerals brutally mined by the Federation for centuries to fuel their war machine. Its native population, the Xylian, a species of gentle bioluminescent subterranean dwellers, had been enslaved for generations, forced into brutal labor in the deep mines. The Ghost Fleet appeared like a phantom, disabling the Federation mining vessels and orbital defenses, without a single Xylian life lost, a testament to their precision and commitment to minimal collateral damage. Admiral Vorn landed personally, a rare but impactful move, accompanied by Kale and Auri. He met with the Xylian elders, a solemn, wizened group of beings whose light flickered with generations of pain. "We are not here to replace your masters," Vorn stated, his voice resonating with sincerity and a quiet strength. "We are here to help you reclaim your freedom, your heritage, and your future. The Federation has exploited you. We offer you the tools to break their chains and the knowledge to forge your own destiny." The Xylian elders, initially wary, their ancient culture steeped in caution, watched as human engineers began to meticulously dismantle the Federation's automated mining rigs, replacing them with more efficient, less destructive extraction methods that utilized Xylian labor fairly with respect for their ecosystem. Auri, working tirelessly, set up secure comms linking Xylos Prime with other nascent resistance movements the Ghost Empire had identified and cultivated across the galaxy. Kale provided tactical training, teaching the Xylian how to defend their newfound freedom against inevitable Federation retaliation, adapting human combat doctrines to the Xylians' unique physiology and underground environment. The Xylian liberation became a powerful symbol across the subjugated worlds. News of the Ghost Empire's altruistic, albeit ruthless towards the Federation actions, spread like wildfire across the subjugated worlds, carried by encrypted data bursts and whispered rumors. The Federation's propaganda machine, once all-powerful, struggled to counter the narratives of freedom and empowerment. They painted humanity as a rogue, unpredictable force, trading one master for another, a greater evil hidden behind a veil of false promises. But the proof was in the pudding. Planets that had once been downtrodden and exploited were now flourishing under their own governance, armed with technology and knowledge freely shared by the Ghosts. Their economy rebounded, their cultures revitalized, and their populations once resigned to slavery now stood tall with renewed purpose. Admiral Tyro, increasingly desperate and facing growing pressure from a fragmented Federation Council, ordered a massive military buildup, diverting resources from other sectors, even pulling vital defensive fleets from core worlds. "We must crush this rebellion before it spreads further," he thundered at the Council, his voice filled with a venomous fury. "This Ghost Empire is a cancer festering in the shadows. They are not liberators. They are opportunists using these weak-willed primitives as pawns in a larger, more sinister game. They will eventually turn on them just as they will turn on us." But his words rang increasingly hollow. The Federation military, designed for large-scale conventional warfare, for grand, decisive fleet engagements, found itself ill-equipped to combat a phantom enemy that struck with surgical precision, then vanished without a trace. Their vast fleets became ponderous, slow targets, easy to outmaneuver and disrupt. Their intelligence networks, once considered impenetrable, were constantly being breached by Auri's unparalleled hacking abilities, leaving them blind and vulnerable. Federation commanders were forced to confront a foe that defied all their established tactical manuals, a foe that seemed to exist outside of their reality. One crucial turning point in the Liberation Campaign was the Battle of the Veil, a system notorious for its dense nebula-choked regions, making traditional sensor sweeps and FTL travel nearly impossible. The Federation had amassed a significant fleet there, hoping to trap a portion of the Ghost Fleet that had been seen liberating a nearby system. Admiral Vorn, however, had anticipated this move with chilling accuracy. "They're coming for us in the Veil, Kyle," Vorn said, reviewing the latest intelligence from Auri's deep space probes. "They think the nebula is their advantage, their impenetrable fortress. We'll make it theirs, yes, but to their detriment." KL grinned, a rare cold flash of amusement that spoke of calculated violence. "Ambushes in nebulae. How wonderfully old-fashioned of them. They think we fight by their rules." Auri had spent weeks, almost to the point of exhaustion, mapping the Veil's unique energy currents, atmospheric distortions, and localized gravitational anomalies. Her exhaustive work allowed the Ghost Fleet's cloaking technology to become virtually undetectable within the nebula, merging seamlessly with the swirling gas and dust, becoming extensions of the cosmic environment itself. When the Federation fleet, confident in their numerical superiority and the nebula's cover, entered the Veil, they were met not by an ambush in the traditional sense, but by a chilling absolute silence. Their sensors reported nothing but static and background radiation. Then, one by one, their ship's power cores began to flicker, their weapon systems inexplicably rerouted to friendly targets, their communications jammed with bursts of distorted ancient human war cries, not recorded audio but complex, fear-inducing psychoacoustic signatures that overloaded their comms arrays. Panic erupted across the Federation fleet. Unable to see their enemy, unable to communicate, unable to trust their own systems, they began firing wildly, hitting their own ships in the confusion, their discipline shattering under the invisible pressure. The Ghost Fleet, moving like wraiths, systematically disabled command vessels, communications arrays, and engine rooms, never engaging in a direct firefight, never risking a full-scale engagement. They didn't destroy, they demoralized. They dismantled from within, preying on the Federation's fear and paranoia. Commander Valerius, who found himself on a crippled vessel watching in horror as his own fleet tore itself apart in a cataclysm of friendly fire, understood the chilling truth. "They're not fighting us," he whispered, his eyes wide with dawning existential terror. "They're making us fight ourselves. They're making us remember our own weaknesses, our own internal fractures." He watched as a nearby cruiser, its shields inexplicably turned off, was torn apart by a volley from its own allies. This isn't warfare, it's a psychological purge. The Battle of the Veil was not a battle won by firepower, but by psychological warfare and technological superiority. The Federation suffered catastrophic losses, losing over a third of its assembled forces without ever seeing their true adversary. The message was clear: there was nowhere to hide, no defense against an enemy that could simply unmake your ability to fight, that could turn your own strengths against you. The Federation began to fracture with alarming speed. Internal dissent, long suppressed by a rigid hierarchy and fear of reprisal, boiled to the surface. Member worlds questioned the leadership of Admiral Tyro and the Council. The cost of endless, unwinnable war was too high, the resource drain unsustainable. The Ghost Empire was no longer a phantom menace. It was a tangible, unstoppable force empowering revolts and independence movements across their vast, crumbling territory. Entire sectors declared secession, forming their own independent defense forces, often utilizing the very technology shared by the Ghost Fleet. On Earth, a world slowly healing from centuries of neglect, the news of the Ghost Empire's conquests spread with a mix of awe and trepidation. Elias Vorn, now a respected elder on Soraya 4, a testament to humanity's resilience, watched the reports with a grim satisfaction. His daughter, a young woman now, her spirit unburdened by the past, looked at the holographic maps tracing the expanding blue swaths of liberated systems. "They're really doing it, aren't they, Father?" she asked, a touch of wonder in her voice. "They are," Elias replied, his voice heavy with the weight of history. "They're reshaping the galaxy, but war, no matter how righteous, leaves scars, even for ghosts. And the hardest part is not the winning, but the building that comes after." Arlendrax, the former Federation officer who had chosen humanity over his own empire, now lived in quiet retirement on a small biodiverse moon, advising a newly formed interspecies peacekeeping force. He understood the necessity of humanity's actions, the desperate measures required to secure their survival and exact justice, but he also saw the dangerous path they walked. "Vorn seeks to dismantle the Federation's empire," he mused to his protege, a young Xylosian diplomat. "But what comes after? Can an empire born of shadows truly build a lasting light, or will the shadows eventually consume it?" He knew the allure of vengeance could be as destructive as oppression itself. Back on the Wraith Admiral, Vorn looked at the holographic map, its vibrant blues consuming more and more of the Federation's fading red. "The Federation is on its knees," Ari announced, her voice filled with a quiet pride that mirrored the satisfaction in the room. "Their core worlds are next. Helios Prime itself is showing signs of internal strife." Kael, ever the pragmatist, raised a point, his gaze scanning the remaining pockets of Federation resistance. "They'll fight to the last, Admiral. They're cornered, and cornered beasts are the most dangerous. They still possess considerable firepower, even if their morale is shattered." Vorn nodded, his expression grim but resolute. "They are, but they are also predictable. They will consolidate their remaining forces, attempt a final desperate stand, perhaps at Helios Prime itself. We will give them that stand, but not on their terms, not in their fortress." He zoomed in on a single isolated star system at the very heart of the Federation's remaining territory, a system known for its volatile star and asteroid fields. The Seraphim Belt. "It will be the final theater of our war. We will lure them there, and we will break them utterly, not just their ships, but their will to oppress." The Ghost Empire had revealed itself, no longer a whisper, but a resonant, undeniable shout that echoed through the galaxy. The galaxy, once apathetic to humanity's plight, now watched with bated breath, their fate inextricably linked to this new, enigmatic power. Humanity had come from the brink of extinction, built an empire from defiance and desperation, and was now poised to reshape the very power structures of the cosmos. The Federation's reign was ending not with a bang, but with the methodical, silent dismantlement by the very species they had condemned. The stars, which had never been kind to humanity, were about to witness a new dawn or a new darkness waiting to be revealed. The Ghost had become a force, and its presence was no longer merely a haunting. It was a new dawn or a new darkness waiting to be revealed. The final act was about to begin, not just for the Federation, but for humanity itself. The question remained after the shadows: what light would humanity cast upon the stars? Would they become the very tyrants they fought, or forge a truly different path? The answer lay in the crucible of the coming final battle.